Hey, brand builder, Rory Vaden here. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this interview. As always, it's our honor to provide it to you for free. And wanted to let you know there's no big sales pitch or anything coming at the end. However, if you are someone who is looking to build and monetize your personal brand, we would love to talk to you and get to know you a little bit and hear about some of your dreams and visions and share with you a little bit about what we're up to see if we might be a fit. So if you're interested in a free strategy call with someone from our team, we would love to hear from you. You can do that at brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall, brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall. We hope to talk to you soon.
We tend to fail more from fear and timidity than we do from overdaring. That was one of my favorite lines from the interview that I did recently with Dr. Margie. Today, I'm breaking down, doing the podcast recap of that episode, sharing with you my top 3 highlights from that interview, which was powerful and it affected me. And so I'm excited to share that with you. And before I dive into that, I want to let you know of a little bit of a forthcoming change, a little modification that we're making here with the podcast. It's going to roll out here over a few weeks, but I'm going to be doing obviously this recap by myself and then the next couple by myself. And then starting here in like 4 or 5 episodes, what's going to happen is we're still going to do the podcast twice a week, but I will do an interview and then the recap of that interview will be on the same episode as that interview. And then our second episode every week will be AJ doing an interview by herself with the guest and doing her own recap of her own interviews. So just wanted to let you know about that kind of exciting slight modification just to the way that the episodes are going to be happening. And so for the next few weeks, you're going to see me just by myself or be hearing from me just by myself. So on with the recap for this episode, this interview with Dr. Margie. I loved this. This was something that I personally needed. And I had lots and lots of great takeaways. And the first takeaway is to what I was just talking about is you have to think of things as an experiment. They're like your business is something that you have to view as an experiment instead of like it's a success or a failure. If you view it as an experiment, it puts you in this mindset, kind of more of the right mindset that it takes to be successful, because you go, oh, I'm going to try things knowing that some of the things aren't going to work. And the reason, and knowing that that's part of the plan. Like you know ahead of time that it is by design that you're doing trial and error and you're figuring things out as you go, versus this mindset, this mentality of living in this world of like, I have to be successful and everything I do has to work all the time. Otherwise it's not going to work. And it's kind of this ultimatum, like this very ultimate destination that we place ourselves in, and this pressure that we put onto ourselves and onto the people around us, like the people that work with us and the vendors and the contractors, of like, this must work or else, right? Like, or else it's over, or else it's done, or else, I'm going to be lost. I'm going to fail. Or I'm going to let everybody down. And instead of kind of operating with, I guess, that sort of definity, it's saying, hey, let me view this as an experiment. I'm going to constantly be iterating. I'm going to constantly be adapting. I'm going to be evolving. I'm going to be trying things and seeing what works and then modifying from there. And that really hit me hard, because especially if you're a perfectionist like I am, and I'll go ahead and claim AJ as one too, even though she's not here, I feel pretty confident at this point that I could say that comfortably with her and she wouldn't take issue with it. So that if you're a perfectionist, you are likely to be overly cautious, because everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be planned. Everything, you operate from this very calculated standpoint of like, I want all these things to work. But to what Dr. Margie's point was in that interview, which really hit me, was most of us are overly cautious. right? Like the fear of being an entrepreneur is even like, oh gosh, I don't know, like that seems like a big risk, and to some extent it is, certainly riskier than maybe that, more risk than the average citizen might take on. But that is what holds us back, is that just that kind of fear, and that need for certainty and precision and accuracy, and for knowing what's going to happen before it happens. That is what holds us back from being able to take the chances, take the risks, make the changes that are really going to unlock exponential growth. And as she said, we fail far more from timidity than we do from overdaring. I think that line will stick with me personally from Dr. Margie. And so treat it as an experiment. Treat your business, your brand, as an experiment, rather than like a test that you have to get right, and that there's like a right or wrong answer. So I thought that was really good. My second takeaway was something that we talk a lot about at Brand Builders, and it was edifying to me to hear her say the same thing. And this was what she said, verbatim: I had to demonstrate my value before people would pay me. And so we were talking specifically about how do you start your career as a speaker, right? And we tell people all the time, whether you want to be a professional speaker, like a paid speaker or not, it doesn't matter. Giving free presentations is a huge piece of marketing. It is the fastest way to take someone from a complete stranger to a lifelong fan, is like this a presentation, a training class. And there's different things that you call it. You could call it a podcast interview. You could call it a webinar. You could call it a video funnel of 3 short videos. You could call it a 7-day challenge funnel and have 10 7-minute videos. Like there's all these things that you could call it. But the fact of the matter is that people have to have a chance to sample you. They have to have a chance to try you before they buy. They have to get exposed to you before they can feel comfortable purchasing from you, if they don't know you, if they don't recognize you, if they've never heard of you. And the fact of the matter is that most personal brands, like most of us, aren't that well known. We're not celebrities. We don't have millions and millions of followers. Like that's rare that we're working with somebody who is in that category. We do have a few clients that are that way, but for the vast majority of us, and perhaps for you, is going, how do I give people a chance to sample me before they buy? Internally, with all of our Brand Builders monthly members, we talk about this concept that I call chicken on a stick. It's basically like, it's exactly when you go to the food court, and when you walk around the food court, or if you go to Whole Foods or the grocery store or whatever, and there's people sampling new food, and it's always new food. Why? Because you don't yet trust it. You haven't had friends tell you about it. You've never bought it. It's new. And so what do? They give you a sample, a piece of chicken on a stick. They say, here, taste this. And they know that is the most powerful mechanism that they can leverage to take you from, I've never heard of you, I don't know what this brand is, I don't know what this flavor is, I don't know what this style or this taste is, or this product at all, to go, oh yeah, okay, I'll buy that, because you have this immediate experience. It is the exact same. It is the exact same thing with your personal brand. People have to have a chance to sample you. They have to hear you talk, right? The number one way people always go, well, how do I become a paid speaker? Well, Rory, Hall of Fame speaker. Like, how do you become a Hall of Fame speaker? Like, how do you get paid to speak? And the answer is, you go speak for free until somebody walks up to you and says, that was incredible. I have an event coming up. What's your fee? I'd like to have you come speak at my event. Because they're sampling you, they're seeing you, and it's the whole concept of content marketing in general. But this applies to speaking, and it applies to whatever you're selling. Like, you might be a doctor selling surgeries. You might be a chiropractor. You might be a health food coach. You might be, a consultant of any type. The whole value of social media and podcasting and all this digital marketing is for people to have a chance to sample you. How can you incorporate sample into your business? How can people sample you? And social media is, that's basically our entire social media strategy. And it works, right? Is you save the best for first, like we say so often, because I'm demonstrating my value so that people can have confidence before they pay me. And that's a switch you have to flip, and you have to constantly remind yourself of as you're building your personal brand and you're building your business, going, how I have to give value first. I have to give first before they give to me. It's not a chicken or the egg. It might feel like a chicken or the egg, but it's not. It's very clear. People, you need to think of your customers as people who pay you in rears, right? So when it comes to paying your bills, you can pay in forwards or you can pay in rears. So you pay. To pay in forwards means you pay before the service comes to you, and you pay ahead of time. To pay in rears is to say you're paying for a service that you have already experienced. So when it comes to selling yourself, your business, your personal brand, however you're monetizing the thing that you're doing, you have to realize that people are always paying in rears, meaning they're experiencing you first and then they're paying you after, even if they're technically paying you for a service that you haven't yet delivered. It's kind of like, even though people are hiring me they're hiring me to give a speech at a future event, they're really paying me after they've had some experience with me. They've either read my book or they've seen my TED Talk or they watch me. Most often, I mean, the number one way that people hire me is because they saw me speak at an event. They said, that was incredible. That was, worth the money. I'll pay you to come. I want you to come do the same thing. So they're paying in rears. Demonstrate your value before you ask people to pay. How do you do this? And here's the thing. Every company in the world, right now is dealing with virtual and remote work. They need to train their people and motivate them and manage them. And they're all like virtual, or at least partly virtual. So they're all open to this idea of going, how can I inject training and wisdom and inspiration into my audience? Like, there's never been a more ripe opportunity or ripe time for you to come infuse your inspiration, your education, your entertainment, your encouragement into companies in a way that they will sample you for free. And then from there, that is how they hire you. So just, you can never hear that enough. And you hear so many times, so many of our different guests have talked about it, but for Dr. Margie to just like nail that, right between the eyes as in terms of how she built her speaking career, I just thought was super relevant. And it applies to whether you're a coach, a consultant, or your professional service provider, or, whatever. Even if you're trying to just get yourself a raise at work, you have to go, let me volunteer for a project. Let me show you what I can do and earn my way into a promotion or earn my way into a raise. Demonstrate the value. The money comes after. And most people have that totally flipped. And then the third big takeaway for me, which is another kind of fundamental reminder, and it's another thing you can just never hear enough, which is, don't lose to that little voice inside of your head. Don't lose to that little voice that tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable. You have to realize that little voice exists in all of us. And most people who lose in life, they don't lose to the fact that they actually weren't those things. They lose to the little voice who said they were those things before they ever even tried, before they ever even gave it a shot, before they ever even had an at bat or took a swing or took a shot. And they lost to the little voice. Most of us don't lose to what happens in our life. We lose to the idea of what might happen before it ever even happens, before it ever has a chance to succeed. That little voice is holding people hostage. It is keeping them from shining their light, as Dr. Margie said. And that voice is just the voice of fear. That voice was planted in you for protection to keep you safe from danger. But there's a big difference between danger and fear. Danger is something that could actually threaten your livelihood, but the brain doesn't delineate really so much that from fear, which is something that is new and uncertain. And being successful is about stepping into things that are new and uncertain and outside of comfort. And so if you ever want to be successful at anything, you have to learn to conquer that little voice. Until you conquer that voice, you can't do anything. You'll be held hostage and captive to your imagination working in the wrong direction, which is how I describe fear. I say that fear is your creativity working in the wrong direction. And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It means that you're a perfectly functioning human, that your brain is trying to protect you from something that could be dangerous. But very few of the things that we are pursuing in terms of goal are dangerous. They're just unknown. That's mostly what fear is. It is the unknown. It is the uncertain. And yet you have to learn to conquer that step. And if you can't defeat that voice, you don't have a chance. You're losing the battle before you even step on the field, right? Like, so we treat that. I love what Dr. Margie said when she said, we treat that little voice as if it's the truth, but it's not the truth. It's just your creativity working in the wrong direction. It's just your brain's defense mechanism that is there appropriately to prevent you from danger, which is inappropriately preventing you from doing something new. And that is standing in your way. But to become successful in life, to achieve your goals, to change the world, to do the impossible, to have the thing you have never done, will require you to decide and defeat that little voice over and over and over again. Our hope is that one of the reasons that you come to this podcast every single week is to get that encouragement to help you overcome that little voice, to get you that encouragement that says, hey, you've got permission around here to experiment, and to get that encouragement to go, hey, you've got permission to go give value into the world before you ask people to pay. These are three of probably the most timeless tenets and most important principles of all the kind of concepts that we talk around at Brand Builders, captured right here in this interview with Dr. Margie as a living example of someone who embodies these things. And we're honored to call her a friend and a client, and to hold her up and say, look what this woman has done. Like, look at the career that she has built for herself, all by treating it as an experiment, being willing to demonstrate her value first, and learning to conquer that little voice of fear. Our invitation is for you to do the same. Hey, if you would, share this podcast with somebody who you think needs to hear it, and keep coming back week after week. We're so excited that you're here. We'll catch you next time on The Influential Personal Brand.